Today is the 27th May 2026. I'm doing another practice of how it feels to talk about a specific topic. The thing I want to talk about today is what is an emotion. I personally categorize the word emotion for myself kind of as a subcategory of perception. What is perception? Perception is kind of an input for, in this case, myself, a human being, a living being, or some kind of system, however we want to name these things. So perceptions are inputs, they are sensory inputs in most cases. And emotions are a special case of perception. Emotions are internal perception. We humans have many senses, like we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can feel touch, we can feel heat. Those are what we often call perception. I think all sensory inputs are kind of perceptions. And emotions are also just a kind of perception. They are internal perception. They are the sensing of an internal state. They are sensing of my energy level, my hunger. They are sensing of my muscle tensions. They are sensing of pain receptors in my body. They are sensing emotional states. They are sensing needs, requirements. Do I feel safe or not? A lot of that sensing is not just raw input. A lot of that is also, even in perception, is processing the kind of raw sensory input that we get. And with emotion, it's not just, or in some cases it's not even at all, kind of having one kind of raw sensory input. In some cases it's just processing something. So perception is not just an emotions on that sense. It's not just raw input. There's always also a kind of processing involved with that. Like even our vision, we don't see, like our eyes do not get or cannot, what's the word? They can receive actually the visual data that we then feel like we are seeing. Like currently I am looking at my room, looking at the camera, and I have the experience that I see everything in color. I have the experience that I see everything sharp. I have the experience that I see my full like visional area. Like I have the experience that I see my shelf on that side. It has like a blue cover front, even at like the edge of my vision. When I'm looking at the camera, I have the feeling that I see stuff in my peripheral vision in color, which we don't. We know from like scientific research, we know humans, our eyes are not capable of actually seeing color except in a very small spot, like at the center where we're looking. So I kind of only see the camera. I kind of see only the thing that I'm focusing on in color and sharp. Everything else is actually not in color and not sharp and in very low resolution in a way. But we still have the experience. And the experience comes from processing the inputs that our physical sensors get. The same thing happens on the emotional side, where emotions, they might process feedback that we get from the world. Like I might talk to a person and they might give me a reaction that makes me feel something. So I'm sensing that a person reacts in a way to what I'm saying to them or what I'm doing to them or I'm acting or whatever I'm doing. I get a reaction. I perceive these reactions through my sensors, my physical sensors, and they get processed and they get kind of judged and they get kind of a conclusion, and all of that then gets packed and expressed as an emotion. That is kind of what I see emotions at. They are internal perception. And again, I make the distinguishment for me. They are kind of, all of this are perception, but in what I call emotion is internal perception. It's perception of myself, of how my inner workings being, of my body, of my mind, of processes inside of me, whatever we want to call it. It's an internal perception, while general perception and other kinds of perception are more so outward leaning, what we call perception, but I'm thinking of them as a subcategory because they're the same thing, just emotions are a special case. They're internal perception. That is what I think and how I like to think about emotions. For me, I also very heavily think in emotions have two sides on or like a scale where you can either be more on one side or more on the other side. And where there's positive emotions and negative emotions. Every emotion is either a positive emotion or a negative emotion. It can be somewhere in between. Of course, this is a scale where either you're like on the negative side, on the positive side, or you are somewhere in between that. So it can be very much in the middle where it's difficult to even say is this like positive or negative. That's on its own not necessarily an important thing if it's actually positive or negative. Like a positive emotion, we like to think positive is good and negative is bad. Negative emotions are not bad and they are not good. Positive emotions are not good and they are not bad. These are just descriptions. What is a positive emotion in generally? Positive emotions reward you for doing something. A positive emotion will guide my brain to repeat whatever it is processing. It says this whatever I'm processing, I'm doing these kinds of videos, for example. I feel good doing these videos. I have a good they give me a good feeling, and this good feeling will make me repeat that again. It will not make me repeat it again. It will increase the chance that I will repeat it again. It will make it more likely that I will repeat this behavior, and it will reinforce a behavior. While a negative emotion is more of a punishment. It says avoid this. It will increase the chance that I will do less of something that is perceived as in form of a negative emotion. That is the purpose also of emotions, not just perception, not just sensory input. So it's not just information that I get, it's kind of that, but emotions always also have a controlling function. That's also one of the things where perceptions and emotion is different. Perception not necessarily has like a controlling or a guiding mechanism, while emotions always also have a guiding and a controlling factor. All of our emotions are triggers and are control mechanisms that are there to control and to guide our behavior. So we do something more, we do something less, or we even do something at all. There can be also just triggers to just do something. So emotions control and guide and steer our behavior, my behavior. So this is how I like to think about emotions. This is how I categorize emotions for myself. Emotions always come in some way from an input. That input is always processed, and the processing then creates a control or a guide for my behavior. That is kind of how I see how every emotion is behaving, or how the process of an emotion works. In practice, emotions are not that easy because emotions are not, it's not always clear. Like we can't, or I can't perceive these steps of an emotion. It's not always so clear what is actually the input of an emotion. What does it tell me to do? How is it guiding me? Emotions, they are very fluent. They are like interacting with each other. You have emotions that mix into each other, but it's not just clear what is, are you like angry, sad, afraid, I don't know, feel pleasure. They can be very intermixed, how we think and how we perceive emotion, and how we want to, and how especially I want to clearly distinguish them from each other. It's not always possible to say, I have like this emotion and this emotion and this emotion. They have a very complex and fluid interconnection of each other. So you can have a very mixed fluid of emotions in a way, which makes it difficult to sometimes grasp what are the kinds of emotions that are currently at play, what are they doing, how are they interacting with each other. Emotions can be very difficult in that sense. My time is already over. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this, so I will just keep it at that. This was my first talk more about a topic that I want for this channel. Talking about emotions, talking about perception, talking about perspectives, talking about how they change me, how they affect me, what I learned about them, stuff like that are the topics that I want to talk about on this channel. And it worked. First time worked better than expected. A little bit structureless, but I also didn't prepare the structure for it. So I felt it was quite good. Hopefully next will be even better. I definitely had fun. So until tomorrow.